Hello, and welcome to the live. This is day 29. Well, it was. It's after 12 a.m. in the morning. So let me just say off top, this is way later than I usually do my lives for the Diddy trial. But today has been a day. It is hot as hell where I am. My AC went out. If you hear any loud noise in the back, it is a portable AC that is helping me to survive until we can get this hopefully straightened out in the morning. So that's why I'm coming to you all so late, but I definitely could not miss day 29. It is when the defense finally took up the mantle to start their case, and they also ended their case today. So we're going to get into what that testimony looked like for today. I am curious to see exactly how hard did the defense go with whatever text messages or whatever they may have went over today. Because from what I'm understanding, they did not call any witnesses. I know at some point today or yesterday, at some point on day 29, the judge did speak with Diddy just to make sure he did not want to testify. The judge asked Diddy how he was feeling. He said, "I'm doing great, Your Honor. I've been wanting to tell you, thank you. You're doing an excellent job." The judge laughed and said, "Thank you. I appreciate it." And he said, "Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor." And then the judge asked if he had discussed with his lawyers whether or not he should testify. And he said, yes, thoroughly. He had discussed it. He said that it was his decision not to testify and that it is solely his decision. And he said, I mean, it's my decision with my lawyers. And the judge just circled back on that just to make sure no, the decision for you not to testify needs to be your decision. And Diddy said, yes, it is my decision. I'm making it not to testify. So, with that being done, they got into the testimony today. And we're going to take a look at this testimony. We'll do pretty much like how we did yesterday. If it starts getting too redundant, stuff we've already heard before, then we'll just kind of scan it a little bit more quickly. But I'm very curious to see because this is the defense's last, almost next to last stand before this goes to the jury. And right now, the schedule is closing arguments are expected to begin on, I think, Thursday. Yeah, closing arguments are expected to begin on Thursday. They are not anticipating the case going to the jury until Monday. So Monday we will be at verdict watch, and from what I also understood from the lawyers is that they both teams, the government side and the defense side, they both plan to take 4 hours each for their closing statements. So that is going to be something to see. I think the prosecutors, the government side, they really have to try to button up because I don't think they've proven Rico. And just to be clear, Diddy has 5 counts. When the jury goes back in the to deliberate on these charges, there are 5 counts against Diddy that they have to decide guilty or not guilty. First one is Rico. And that's where you've heard all the talk about predicate acts under the Rico, like, well, did you do arson? Did you do bribing? Did you do blah, 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 blah? So if you've done like 2 of those things and it's supposed to be in support of a criminal enterprise, then you would be found guilty of Rico. I don't think the prosecutors, the government, ever showed us what was the criminal enterprise. You showed us a lot of things that Diddy did, and some of those things were damn sure illegal. But was it Rico? In my opinion, no. If I were on the jury, I would vote not guilty to Rico. So that's 1 of 5 charges. Count 2 is the S trafficking charge, saying that he trafficked Cassie and he used coercion, force, manipulation in order for her to, you know, to engage in S acts with men. Count three is another charge, and this is the I've heard that YouTube doesn't want us to use the word. I can't think of another word that fits this word. But the charge for calling people like the hire S workers, that charge, there's a charge for hiring sex workers. I said it anyway. Hiring S workers, trafficking them across state line, paying for commercial S acts. That's all the P tuition. I'm saying it that way for YouTube. Y'all bear with me. Why we just can't talk regular? That's YouTube's fault. So that is count three. Count four is another S trafficking charge, and that is for Jane, saying that Diddy used coercion and force to have her engage in S acts with men. If I were on the jury, he would definitely get a not guilty for me on that because Jane, is nobody's victim. I don't buy it. The fifth charge is another P tuition charge, and that one is specific to Jane, same as the one for Cassie. But that is also about hiring S workers and paying for commercial S acts and so on. Okay, so those are the 5 counts that the jury will be deliberating on. In my opinion, Diddy, I don't see how he would not be found not guilty of the P tuition part. That to me is a slam dunk. To me, they got him on that. If I were a juror, I would not find him guilty of S trafficking for Jane at all. So that would be off the table for me. I would not find him guilty of RICO. I would find him guilty of the P tuition. Saying it that way for YouTube, y'all. And when it comes to Cassie with the trafficking, I am leaning. If I were a juror, I am leaning towards voting not guilty for S trafficking for her. And because I feel like all of those messages I've heard, some of her testimony too, about how she liked it, she just didn't want to do it as frequently as he wanted to do it. It's just too much doubt. It's too much doubt in that for me to know for sure when that was going down. Were you forced in that? Now, like we all have said a million times, DV is not a charge against Diddy, because if it was, that would be another one we would not have to debate. He would definitely be guilty of that too, but that's not a charge. So those are the 5 counts. RICO, S trafficking related to Cassie, hiring S workers. That's a third charge. That's a P tuition charge. The fourth count is reference to Jane in S trafficking. I would definitely vote not guilty to that. And the fifth count is a P tuition charge, again, very specific to Jane. So those are the 5 counts that the jury will be deliberating on Monday to decide if he is guilty or not guilty. What I don't see happening at all is a full-fledged acquittal. If that happened, I'm telling you, I would be shocked. But I will also say it would not be the first time I've been shocked about something a jury did. I've had a few of those. So, you never really know what a jury might do. But I just can't see him getting fully acquitted. I also don't think Diddy will be in prison long, no matter what he's convicted of, because I am 100% convinced that Donald Trump will pardon him. I feel absolutely certain of that. And I am saying that for the record today, June 25th, 12:17 a.m. Yeah, he won't spend a lot of time in prison. I don't see it. Unless something happens to Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is going to pardon him. I definitely believe that. So with all that being said, let's jump into what happened today when the defense was questioning Homeland Security investigator and let's see what they did as far as maybe sharing more text messages in support of their case. Like I said, from what I've heard, the defense team didn't call any witnesses. And I think a lot of people aren't shocked by that because it's almost like they don't want to inadvertently do something to help the government prove their case when they really feel as if the government has not proven their case, right? And then who would they call? Who would they call? Keep in mind also, we are heading into closing arguments, and we did not see Christina Corum on the stand at all, Diddy's right hand person, although we heard about her all throughout this trial and all the activities that she was involved in, whether it was setting up the rooms, making sure the supplies were right where they needed to be, the substances were where they needed to be. People came to her and complained about stuff they saw going on that they didn't like. She, being chief of staff, didn't necessarily respond to that appropriately, but that is what that is, right? So I don't know if that means that they are planning to charge her as a co-conspirator in the future. Maybe they're just waiting to see if they could get this conviction on Diddy, and then if they could get this conviction, then they will pursue her as a co-conspirator, because we did not see her during this trial. We also did not see any of Diddy's security, which that was also surprising too, that we did not see, like D-Rock, Bonds, Uncle Paulie. We did not see any of them during this trial either. So it's going to be interesting to see if they are going to maybe also be charged as co-conspirators, or will this be one of those things where they wanted the big fish, and once they got the big fish, they were good on it? That seems a little wild to me, because Christina Corum, she was involved heavily in a lot of the things, especially with the P-Tushin stuff. She was heavily involved in organizing that, paying for it, and all of that. So it would just seem so weird to me if she's not charged at all. All right, but anyway, enough of that. Let's jump into the testimony from today. So the defense attorney Garagos is the jury is looking at videotape again, and let's see there. What does she say here? I think at this point they must have shifted over the messages, and the investigator says that was so effing sexy. Then she adds, "I'm wet thinking about it," with a heart eyes emoji. Now Paul enters the chat, but your chart doesn't include Cabral's message with Jane. So this is something that the prosecution has been doing, because these summary charts that this is something that the defense has been doing, because these summary charts that have been put together and presented to the jury by the government side, what they've been doing is they have been very selective on the messages that they share with the jury, and they're leaving out messages that would make maybe people have a different view of what went down. So the defense attorneys have been doing that for the last few days, basically saying to the government summary witnesses, where's this on the chart? Did you see this message? Well, where's this one? So I think we're going to see a lot of that right now in this testimony. So defense attorney says, let's look at exhibit. And on December 21st, 2021, Jane messages Cabral to say Happy New Year and let me know if you want to come tonight. What does Cabral respond? He said, I'm cooking for my family, but tomorrow for sure. And that exchange also not, is that exchange also not in your summary chart? And that was not in his summary chart. Then the defense attorney says, from April 4th, 2022, Combs and Jane, please read Mr. Combs' message. I've been having crazy fantasies about Leo, you and Leo. Okay, and then they have a screenshot of the text. I've been having crazy fantasies about Leo. And they got a lot redacted in here still. Okay. Let's turn to the messages from early October 22 between Mr. Combs, Jane, and a man named Paul. Jane previously testified that Paul often joined them during their hotel encounters, correct? The special agent said, yes, that's correct. And he said, please read the message Jane sent to Paul. She wrote, ready for some fun tonight? And does she follow up with any instructions? The special agent said, yes. She said, come after the butlers are finished helping. You can wait in the lobby if you get there early. So she's coordinating directly with Paul, inviting him, giving him a time and place. And the special agent said that's what the message would indicate. See, that's why I said, for me, if I were a juror, I'm voting not guilty on Jane. Okay. The defense attorney said then the next messages are from July 2022. You only reviewed what the government provided to you, correct? He said, that's right. In these text messages, Combs tells Paul to come over. He said, yes. Jane then writes, my place is free tonight. She also says, I got on my knees and thanked God for the health of my child and for your friendship. This lady needs to stop mentioning her child, but mentioning her child in any way associated with anything, even though I know these are old text messages. I believe every time her baby's father hears mention of his son in this drama. Okay. Let's see. The defense attorney said, let's look at Combs' own messages to Paul from around that same time in October 2022. What did Mr. Combs text him? Hold up. The staff is outside. They leave now. Hang tight. So Combs is telling Paul to wait until the staff has left. The special agent said that's correct, suggesting he was coordinating his arrival as well. The special agent said it appears so. So the defense attorney said, let's look at this exhibit. This is a conversation between Jane and Paul, correct? Special agent said, I don't memorize exhibit numbers. Defense attorney said, all right, let's display it. This message is between Mr. Arthur, that is Paul, and Mr. Combs, who says staff is leaving. And here we have the first mention of Anton, dated October 8th, 2022. He said, yes, he appears here. Now, looking at photos marked E285, did you notice the bracelet Jane is wearing? The special agent said, yes, I see it. In another text, Jane writes, can you come to Turks? What's his response? Yes, love, I have a passport, but I'm not vaccinated. Then she asks, the defense attorney goes on, can you get in through ATL, which is Cabral's home base? And a few days later, on March 21st, 2023, she brings up Miami, correct? Special agent said yes. Then in April 2023, a message thread involving Jane, Combs, and Paul. Paul says, hey, Jane's real name, I'm available. She responds by asking about the 19th. Special agent said, yes, that's true. Let's look at these messages from January 2023. These also involve Mr. Combs, Jane, and Paul. They appear to be coordinating a hotel visit, correct? Special agent said yes. Read Combs' message to Jane. Can I walk in on you and Paul? I would like that. And how does Jane respond? She replies yes. What does she ask after that? What time should I tell him? And what was Combs' reply? Maybe 9:30 so he doesn't run into anyone. Then Jane messages Paul. She writes, okay, let me make sure the coast is clear. Again, showing coordination to avoid being seen. And the special agent said that's correct. Jane writes, tonight was fun. How does he respond? Had a great time with you, baby. Now let's move on to 2023. See all this stuff with Jane, y'all? Jane is a willing participant in these freak offs, king nights, whatever they're calling them. She's willing. She's a willing participant. Defense attorney said Paul messages Jane using her full name saying, hey, I'm available. Jane then asks about the 19th, correct? He said yes. Jane said, I'll reach out. How about P? Is available. I don't know what that means. What does Mr. Combs say in response? He replies, okay, you find the location. You in the mood? And Jane responds, didn't know you were unsatisfied. I stopped and got a couple more outfits. Defense attorney said, I know what you like, Daddy. At the London before you left for New York City, you did a film. You forgot it. You promised you wouldn't forget. Then she included, now this is Jane talking. I know what you like, Daddy. At the London before you left for New York City, you did a film. You forgot it. You promised you would not forget. Then she includes a smirking emoji and a devil face. I'm coming, Daddy. That video you sent me was hot, followed by a sweat emoji. Again, I say to you, Jane is nobody's victim. The defense attorney said, let's go over the messages where Mr. Combs texts Jane. I can't have KK know. Damn, what's the context here? It appears, this is the special agent responding, it appears Mr. Combs is expressing concern about someone, possibly KK, finding out. Jane then coordinates a location for a hotel night. Yes, the special agent said. She meets with an entertainer, also known as an S worker, and also mentions picking up new outfits. When asked if she was in the mood, what does she say? The defense attorney asked the special agent. She simply says yes. What does Combs say? He said, did you get a pill? And hit me when coast is clear. And the special agent said, that's correct. See all this coordination going on between Diddy and Jane, and sometimes these S workers, and they want to make sure the coast is clear because they doing their thing. They don't want everybody in their business. Does that sound like force or coercion to you? Because it most certainly does not to me. Mm-mm. So the next day, what does Jane text Mr. Combs? She writes, I love you, loving on me and me you. Then in May 2023, she messages him again about another hotel night. And the special agent said, yes, she texts Combs about an available entertainer. And when he doesn't respond, she follows up with, baby, all is set. She also arranges flights to Miami. And the special agent said, yes. Does she text the entertainer that she's clearing out the assistant? Yes, she writes, give me a sec. They had to stop the drop off stuff. Later, she thanks him and offers to send a payment through Zelle. Sean Diddy Combs is hunched over as he watches the exchange between the special agent and the defense attorney. The defense attorney said, in this message, Jane texts Combs, I love you. Can't wait to see you, along with heart emojis. Then she adds, let's be positive. Remember how we turned it around at 1 star, correct? Special agent said, that's right. Combs replies, you got chef? And Jane says, she says, no. Then she adds, I was trying my chef I poo, whatever that means. Jane then asks, are you coming to LA? How much would it take to make up for missing your chef gig? I don't know what she's talking about right now. He responds, sorry, love. I could have done it with enough heads up. So this must be a sex worker. Yes, it is. It's Paul. Then Mr. Combs sends a text to Paul. Hurry up. She's at the hotel and she's horny as hell. Need help, LOL. And Paul replies, LOL. These people were a part of a lifestyle. Okay. And Combs sends Paul an image. Does it appear to be a photo of Shaquille O'Neal? Yes, it does. The judge, the counsel, may we have a brief sidebar. Okay, so from based on past testimony, the mention of Shaquille O'Neal is not anything nefarious. Diddy, Jane, quote unquote, Jane, and Paul call themselves Kobe, Shaq, and Michael Jordan. Diddy saw himself as Michael Jordan. Jane saw herself as Kobe. And Paul saw himself as Shaq. When somebody asked Jane why did she give herself the name Kobe, and she said because she was the best. and said, well, why did Diddy take Michael Jordan's name? And she said, oh, because he was the best too. Okay. Okay. So the defense attorney is resuming cross examination. They're going over some more exhibits. Security knows to let you in the back right. He follows with that. Just say P, not Paul. Then Jane sends a message. Just wanted to tell you I love you. I'm listening to your music and making love with you. Parte, rose, whatever we were saying. See what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Jane is not a victim here. And if I were a juror, those last two counts, there's 5 counts against Diddy. Those last 2 counts that are specific to Jane, I would be voting not guilty on both of those. Not guilty, even on the one that I know he's actually guilty of, because it's the P-tution. I have to say it that way for YouTube, P-tution. But no, Jane. No, 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 no. Okay. So let's see. Movie night was off the chain, and movie night for them was when they would take explicit videos and that they filmed of themselves, and they would just watch those videos. They call those movie nights. Jane replied, so we try something new tonight. And what's his response? Call Italian. Jane replies, one hotel roof, good for drinks and light bites, with a smiley face and kiss emoji, correct? Special lady said yes. Then Combs says, baby, I'm stressed out. And Jane responds, I'm back to mommy mode. I tell you, girl, I just know every time 50 sees any kind of reference to his son, you being a mother to his son and all that, I'm just like, if he doesn't try to take this kid, I will be shocked and surprised if he doesn't try that. Defense attorney says, now we're on September 19th, 2023. That date lines up, blah, 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 blah. We don't care about any of that. Okay, let's see. Let's move to August 2023. There's a text exchange between Jane and Mr. Combs. What does Mr. Combs ask Jane? He asks Jane what she thinks of the new guy. And how does Jane respond? He seems cool, babe. Hopefully he doesn't know anybody we know. LOL. Does she mention anything about an NDA? The defense attorney asked the special agent. She said yes. She says she'll make sure he signs the paperwork. Then Jane sends a message saying, just wanted to tell you I love you. I'm listening to your music and thinking about making love with you. Parte, rose, whatever we were saying. Movie night was off the chain. So we tried something new tonight. And they said, yeah, let's call it Italian. One hotel roof. Okay, we read that. Did I go back too far? And then he said the thing about baby, I'm stressed out, mommy mode. Okay, I read that. Don't know how I went back there. Or either she duplicated that in the stream. The thread. Okay, so let's see. So then there's an exhibit where Combs writes, headed to Atlanta. Then he sends another message. I can't even look. It'll drive me crazy. Jane responds with my caliente, muy caliente, along with a sweat emoji, followed by that shit was different. All of it. Jane is a victim, y'all. Where's Jane a victim? Jane is no victim. Okay. She also wrote, we had a great dog, DAW. I don't even think I want to know what that means. DAW. I don't think I want to know what that means. I'm not even going to try to figure that out. Moving right along. Jane follows up with, Daddy want to see mommy be bad tonight. Then adds an explicit message, including emojis, correct? Special agent said, that's right. She continues, I'm going to blow your mind tonight. Can't wait to. Y'all see, don't y'all see what she said right there? Can't wait to L your, because I don't even know if you two want me to say any of that. But y'all see what she said right there. Okay. Special agent said, yeah, that's what she said. She sends more emojis, drooling faces. Then it's sexy here in the hotel. Yeah, we need to run to the freak store. Let's go to line 55. Jane says she didn't have time to do her nails. Combs responds, I effing love it. And this exchange is between Jane and Mr. Combs. That's correct. On line 913. Okay, let's move on. I love you, baby. Have a great show. Then there's another message. I won't read that one aloud. And he laughs. Okay. There aren't any further locations and entries until February 8th, 2024. Christina Coram, again, the one who's MIA, okay? John messages Jonathan Perez. How does he look? Then as you could put him in front of someone, but he just took a full bar, so I think he'll be asleep soon. So clearly they're talking about some kind of substance. Okay, so they say, Your Honor, can we turn off the public screen? Judge says some of the devices have been charged. Okay, we can skip all of that. What does KK text Brendan Paul? Remember, Brendan Paul is the assistant that for some reason, for some strange reason, they want to label Brendan Paul a drug mule. Although Brendan Paul was doing the exact same thing all the other assistants were doing. And KK, by the way. And some of the security, as far as like making sure rooms were set up, making sure Diddy had everything he needed, and whoever was participating in whatever that night, that they had everything they needed. That if there were substances involved, that everything was there that he would want. Why he gets singled out to be called the drug mule is beyond me. You think when they arrested him, he had kilos or something? That was not the case. That was not the case at all. He had a little bit, I think it was 0.8 something of the powder. Okay. And he said, oopsie, I forgot I even had put that in my bag. Now, I think that Brendan Paul is a confidential informant. That whole oopsie and all that, and then the arrest, and then now you'll testify. I know. But even saying all that, honestly, he didn't get on the stand and do any damage to Diddy. He gave the same testimony all the other assistants gave. So anyway, Wild King mode active or Gucci bag active? This is coming from KK. And how does Mr. Paul respond? He replies in between the two. Okay, so just more of the freak off stuff, the King night stuff. Let's see. They talk about flight plans, travel plans. There's another message. That's correct. There's no such evidence. Let's see. Let's go back up because that might be something I don't want to skip. So the defense attorney said, let's talk about Jane's travel flight records. How show Jane flew to Miami just before Mr. Combs' Instagram apology in May 2024. That's for what he did to Cassie regarding the Cassie video, correct? He said, yes, that's correct. And you found no evidence that a third party met them in Miami. The special agent said, that's correct. There's no such evidence. The defense attorney said, we're almost done. Please pause the video here. Do you see the message from Jane? It says, I have the best memories. I have just a few more questions about exhibit. Okay, let's see. So he's killing Jane here. I mean, the defense is just killing Jane. I mean, I don't know how anybody could say that Diddy was guilty of doing anything to Jane. Defense attorney said, do you see an account transfer for $22,000? Said, yes, I see it. Now, looking at Exhibit 1409, this relates to Jane and Fuentes Transportation. Do you see a charge for $151.99 under Jane's real name and also a reference to Cabral Williams? He said, I do. I'm also seeing entries for $324.50, $760.25. Let's now go to page 96. So these are from Sean Combs' personal bank account records. The total due is listed as $74,000. Do you see an account transfer to LCC? He said, yes, it's noted there. Okay. Defense attorney said, just one more video to show. Please turn off the attorney screens. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Which chart? That's a fair question. Let's go ahead and play it. The jury watches another explicit video clip. Defense attorney said, let's look at these records. They show that Mr. Combs personally paid for travel invoices related to Jane and certain entertainers in both September and November 2023. And that personally paid, I think, is what they're trying to hit home, not something he used like enterprise money for. So the defense attorney said, yet in the government summary chart, that credit is given to the travel manager. You did not note that Mr. Combs personally paid for these expenses. He said, no, I did not. Okay, now see, I have a question. Why didn't you, government witness? One final video remains. I think the defense did a great job pointing out all the messages that the government selectively chose not to include. I think they did a great job with that. Okay, so let's see. Thank you, agent. Redirect. Okay, briefly, Your Honor. Okay, let's see what they're talking about. Did we just see Mr. Combs pay for Cabral Williams's travel from Atlanta to Florida across the state lines? The defense objects. Okay, I can't tell what the judge with that. The government said, do the government charge include every single text message exchange in this case? The special agent said, no, they do not. Let's pull up the message that predates this. The defense attorney objects. That's beyond the scope of cross. The prosecutor says, Your Honor, Ms. Garagos opened the door. Then they have a sidebar. Court resumes. Okay, the government is still on redirect. They said, special agent, during this particular time frame, did you observe any messages between Jane and Mr. Combs that were sexual or affectionate in nature? He said, no, I did not. Prosecutor said, no further questions, Your Honor. Okay, so does the government rest? Subject to a few possible corrections? Yes, essentially we rest. Okay, so the government rests their case after that. Let's see. The judge asked the defense if they are ready to proceed. Shapiro says, yes, Your Honor, we move for a judgment of acquittal. I saw this in the news today where the judge allegedly said he would consider the request for an acquittal, but y'all, I can't see that going anywhere. If that went somewhere, I would be like, oh, Trump is already up to doing his job for Diddy, because what? They're not going to acquit. The judge is not going to acquit this case. What? Okay, so anyway, Shapiro said there is no evidence of an agreement to violate RICO or to commit two predicate racketeering acts. The alleged enterprise must be more than just a group of individuals. In this case, the enterprise's goals overlap directly with the alleged racketeering. So this is already telling us, too, what the closing arguments are going to sound like for the defense. And from what I understand, when they were making these arguments to the judge, the jury was not in during this part of the procedure today. Shapiro says, such as sex trafficking, which violates precedent. See Boyle v. U.S. There's no clear organizational structure. A proper RICO enterprise needs more than a rimless hub and spoke model. I agree. And that's why I do not believe that they have proven RICO. I don't. Shapiro said, furthermore, the prosecution has not provided sufficient proof of a conspiracy spanning 20 years. They claim an inner circle of bodyguards, but failed to show any collective criminal conduct. The evidence offered is thin at best, nor did they call any of those bodyguards. Shapiro said, at most, the case shows use of personal quantities of drugs, some alcohol, Astroglide, and baby oil. Jonathan Perez testified these hotel nights were personal time with a woman. Brendan Paul also described them as a hotel for the night. Yeah, they getting ready for this closing statement. Shapiro said David James testified that he once saw a naked man in Mr. Combs' hotel room, but believed it wasn't within the scope of his responsibilities. While sexual encounters involving Cassie Ventura and Jane occasionally included third parties. The defense attorney went on to say to the judge, there is no evidence. Keep in mind, the defense attorney is trying to get the judge to just acquit Diddy right now. There's no evidence those individuals were arranged by staff. If anything, these encounters reflected a deeper personal connection to Mr. Combs. Jane herself told Cabral Williams, don't want the team to intercept you. Now, I must say they did show that. They did show that. Okay. Shapiro said in May she mentioned having to wait until the assistance cleared out. Even when KK and the security team became aware of Combs' alleged violence towards Miss Ventura, it's not alleged though. Come on now, defense attorney. I can't rock with you on that one. That does not constitute racketeering. I do agree with that. That does not constitute racketeering. There is no evidence they aided or participated. There is no evidence, the defense attorney goes on, that Christina Coram, also known as KK, knew or believed the women involved were being coerced. Her role appears to be limited to damage control, and there's testimony indicating Mr. Combs was dishonest with her. Though the government portrays KK as a central co conspirator, she doesn't appear in the timeline until March 2016, 12 years after the alleged conspiracy began. Furthermore, there's a clear gap in the evidence. Shapiro went on to say there's nothing between Mr. Combs' breakup with Cassie in 2018 and his relationship with Jane beginning in 2021, even under RICO. The government must prove the existence of a single overarching agreement. Where is that, y'all? Where is that? Here we are, day 29. What are we in? Week 7? And I still don't know what is the overarching agreement. What is the criminal enterprise? How is this RICO? I still don't know it. I don't care how many lawyers I hear trying to, jump through all the hoops in the world to try to get us to see that it's RICO. I don't see it. Okay. Defense attorney for Diddy goes on to say that has not been demonstrated in this case. See U.S. v. Pennsylvania. And even if this court denies our Rule 29, which is for the judge to acquit Diddy right now, some charges should not be submitted to the jury. Shapiro said under California law, the government must show that the information was about to be disclosed to law enforcement as the court previously ruled in April. There was a lack of probable cause on that point. Shapiro said, Your Honor, the government has failed to prove that Mr. Combs coerced Cassie Ventura into any form of commercial sex. There is no evidence whatsoever that she was unwilling to participate in what they call freak-offs. A person in Mr. Combs' position would have clearly understood that Miss Ventura enjoyed the sexual activity and did not feel forced into it. Yes, their relationship was toxic. And yes, Mr. Combs was at times regrettably violent. But domestic violence, however unacceptable, is not as trafficking. Violence in a relationship, even deeply troubling violence, is not the same as coercion for commercial S purposes under the law. The government's theory collapses under its own weight. This is a powerful argument. Defense attorney said if violence occurred, Miss Ventura left. That's not coercion. It's proof of autonomy. She was able to leave. The case requires more than discomfort and dysfunction to meet the high threshold for a S trafficking conviction, and that bar has not been met. The judge said, I will reserve my decision on the defense's motion for judgment of acquittal. Mr. Combs, do you understand that the decision whether or not to testify is entirely yours? He said, Diddy said, yes, it's my decision. I'm making it. I've been wanting to tell you, thank you. You're doing an excellent job. The judge said, thank you. I appreciate it. Then the court took a break. We will now begin the defense's case. Okay. So we're moving to enter into evidence of stipulation regarding devices provided to the government by Ms. Cassandra Ventura. Mr. McLeod, please pull up the defense exhibit 1402 and highlight row 5. Focus on the section labeled local use. It reads, I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I'll get all the pictures together this week. So many good ones. Meanwhile, Mr. Combs, seated between attorneys Westmoreland and Brian Steele, quietly passes a notepad to Westmoreland. The defense attorney says, from the local user, I owe you a good night. If you want me to call someone, I will. I need to treat my pop better. I promise I'll do better. And if I don't, you can leave me, but that won't happen. You know what, y'all? This case is so messy, it's so dark. It's so much going on with these people that a lot of us could not ever imagine ourselves doing. But we got to be able to say multiple things can be true. And I think one of the things here, even with that message right there, how could you say the person isn't a willing participant? All right. So let's see some of these other texts down here because we're getting closer to the end now. She also texts, I just bought baby all at the store because I couldn't help myself. Then follows up with, I'm proud of us. We've been together a long time. Baby, you do make me happy. I looked at my bracelet and it made me smile. That's Jane talking. Cassie also writes, you are my best friend. CC. That message was sent on May 30th, 2017. And supposedly CC is supposed to stand for Cassie Combs, which, I guess that made her feel better. I don't know. Garrigo said, I'll now read from a statement from about Daniel Phillip. He was reportedly told to sit on the couch while Mr. Combs took his turn with Cassie. Ugh. He admitted he felt jealous. Who the hell is Daniel Phillip? Now, that's the first time I'm hearing of somebody named Daniel Phillip. Regarding Don Richard, she met law enforcement October 2024, again in April and May 2025. Notably, the notes do not indicate that Mr. Combs ever said, where I'm from, people go missing. And Mr. Hayes stated that he began to develop romantic feelings for Miss Ventura. Concerning Capricorn Clark, the interview notes from the first 11 of her 13 sessions with law enforcement and federal prosecutors make no mention of any phone call made near Scott Mescuddy's car in Los Angeles. In Mia's early interviews, there's no mention of Mr. Combs initiating S with her. As for Bangolan, her initial statement did not include that Mr. Combs said, I could kill you during the photo shoot. Also, and then it was another exhibit that was admitted. The defense attorney said, we may have additional items, but with that, the defense rests. The government does not intend to present a rebuttal case. The jurors, you will not need to report tomorrow. Please return on Thursday. All rise, jurors gone. Okay. Let's see. Have both parties discussed Thursday's logistics? We are proposed going until 5 p.m. on both Thursday and Friday. When will I receive the finalized jury instructions? Maybe we have a moment. I'd like to officially withdraw a non-existent exhibit so no one searches for it later. Also, we're requesting that demonstrative exhibit be unsealed. Okay, so whatever that was unsealed. We expect jurors won't begin deliberating until Monday. There will be extensive arguments and then your instructions. Judge said, understood. That timeline makes sense. We'll submit the final jury change by 7:30 p.m. That'll work. Reconvene at 10 a.m. Judge said, actually, I'm making a slight change. Tomorrow's charge conference will begin at noon. We hope the defense won't raise current events or commentary about U.S. government resources during their closing. We believe it would be inappropriate. That's what the prosecutors are saying. Defense attorney says fine, and they are adjourned until tomorrow. So that's it, y'all. Again, I don't know. I feel like the defense, I can understand the defense not putting on any witnesses because who would they put on? I could also understand them not wanting to put up witnesses and potentially open up a Pandora's box. I definitely get that. Maybe it was helpful to the jurors to hear a bunch of these messages again where it looked anything it did not look like coercion or force at all in these messages that they shared. that went back and forth between Diddy and Cassie and Jane and the S workers and KK and security. Who knows? Maybe spending time going through that will actually help a juror or jurors vote one way or the other. Who knows? All I can say is I know this jury is so happy that this is about to be over. This I know they are from sitting there having to watch these S tapes and all this other stuff. I know they are glad this is about to be over. So I will do a live for the closing arguments. I cannot wait to hear the closing arguments. And I'm going to give the government's closing argument a chance. I'm going to give them a chance and I'm going to hear them out. And if they if they end up actually showing or producing a closing statement that make me say, ooh, because then I will definitely give them their props. But I have a feeling that the defense attorney's closing argument is going to be the one that is, I think it's going to be better than what the state can do. But we'll see. We'll see. And at the end of the day, like I've said on previous lives around this case, it really doesn't matter what any of us think. It only matters what those 12 people on the jury think. And they will start deliberating on this case. They're saying now at the earliest, probably Monday. So thank you for dropping by. Thank you for checking out the video. I appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I am trying to build this channel. I appreciate your support. Any feedback that you have, I appreciate that as well. Don't be a stranger. Please drop a comment. Say hi. If nothing else, tell me what you're thinking about this case. What do you think now that we're here? We're pretty much here now, about to turn this over to the jury. What do you think is going to go down with those 5 counts that they have to say guilty or not guilty on? What do you think is going to happen? We'll all know soon enough, right? Because that time is like here now. So, as always, I appreciate it. You all giving me any of your time. Thank you so much. And until the next time, bye, y'all.